Hey everyone, ready to explore how AI is gonna totally transform how we work. Forget those robot takeover movies. This deep dive is all about how you can thrive in this new world. And we've got the perfect guide, Cognizant's planning for our AI-augmented future.
Oh, yeah. It's packed with insights about how companies are already using AI, to boost productivity and make work more engaging.
So no need to hide from the robots.
Uh,
But seriously, what does this AI-human partnership actually look like in the real world? Any cool examples from the report?
Definitely. One that really stood out to me was the study at Harvard Medical School. They were using AI to analyze cancer images.
Okay, interesting.
So the AI on its own was pretty good at spotting those cancerous cells. But here's the thing. When they combined the AI's analysis with the expertise of human pathologists, they got a near perfect accuracy rate.
Wow, so it's like a tag team. Each side with its own strengths, and together they're unstoppable. That's pretty amazing.
Exactly. And that's where the idea of red tasks and blue tasks comes into play.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So AI is really good at those repetitive data-heavy tasks, the red tasks, which frees us humans up to focus on the blue tasks, the ones that need our special human touch. Things like creativity and critical thinking.
So if AI is taking over the boring stuff, what human skills are going to be most valuable in this new world of work?
Oh, that's a great question. And the report highlights some really important ones, like critical thinking. But not just like general critical thinking. We're talking about being able to really analyze complex situations, sift through info from everywhere, and make smart decisions, even when things are changing super fast.
So it's not enough to just know the facts.
Yeah.
You got to be able to understand them and use them. Makes
Yeah.
total sense. What about empathy? How does that fit into a workplace where AI is calling some of the shots?
Empathy. It's going to be even more important because in the end, it's still us humans who are making those big decisions, leading teams, interacting with clients, being able to understand and respond to people's emotions and needs, whether it's your coworkers, your clients, or whoever. It's going to be what sets you apart.
I can see that. So AI might be crunching the numbers and automating stuff, but it's those human skills that are going to make or break us.
100%. Now, to help companies figure out this whole task allocation thing, Cognizant came up with what they call the taskmaster model.
Okay, let's break that down. How does it work? And how can it help us understand what's coming down the pipeline in the job market?
It's basically a framework for looking at jobs and deciding which tasks are perfect for AI and which ones we humans should handle. And there are actually two versions of this model, one for physical tasks and one for cognitive tasks.
Okay, two for the price of one. Sounds intriguing. Can you walk me through how it works in practice? What kind of real-world examples did they have in the report?
Sure. Let's start with the physical task model. The report talks about how Boeing is using these augmented reality headsets in their aircraft assembly process.
Oh, cool. Like Tony Stark stuff?
Yeah, kinda. These headsets are powered by AI and they guide the workers through these crazy complicated wiring tasks, giving them real-time info and step-by-step instructions. And guess what? It's boosted their productivity by 25%.
Whoa, that's impressive. And I bet it makes things way less stressful for the workers, too. Instead of having to remember a million steps, they've got an AI assistant right there with them.
Right. It not only makes them more efficient, but it also cuts down on errors and keeps them safer. Now, for a cognitive task example, the report talks about how this professional services firm is using AI to streamline their risk management process.
Okay, now this is where things get really interesting for me. I'm always fascinated by how AI can handle those higher-level thinking tasks that we usually think of as requiring human brains.
I hear you. So in this case, the AI does all that heavy lifting with data, scanning tons of documents and flagging any potential risks. And that frees up the human analysts to focus on the big picture stuff, like interpreting their findings, figuring out the overall risk, and giving their clients the best advice.
It's like having a superpowered research assistant who does all the grunt work so you can focus on strategy and those important client interactions.
Exactly. And that's just scratching the surface. AI is already out there in so many industries, from agriculture to fashion to finance, augmenting both physical and cognitive tasks. It's pretty mind-blowing.
Okay, so companies are jumping on the AI train, but what about the people side of things? How are companies managing this whole shift to an AI-augmented workforce?
Well, that's where HR comes in big time. And the report really stresses how important their role is in this new world of work.
So HR is basically becoming the bridge between humans and machines.
Yeah, you could say that they have to be strategic partners working side by side with leadership to make sure AI is implemented effectively, spotting any skills gaps that pop up, and fostering a culture where people are adaptable and always learning.
Sounds like HR is going to need a serious upgrade to keep up with all this.
Huh.
What kind of new skills and roles do you think we'll see in HR departments?
That's a good question. We'll probably see more specialists in human-machine collaboration, people who get how to design workspaces and processes that make the most of how humans and AI interact. And for sure, we'll need experts in workplace planning, figuring out what skills the workforce will need and creating training to get people ready for this AI-powered future.
Wow. So it's not just about individual workers adapting. It's about whole organizations changing how they think about work and developing talent.
Right. And get this, even HR departments can benefit from AI. Imagine AI taking care of those routine tasks like leave calculations and benefit stuff, and that frees up HR professionals to focus on more strategic things, like managing talent and building a culture of innovation.
It's like AI is giving HR superpowers, letting them play a bigger and more strategic role in organizations.
I like that analogy. And speaking of superpowers, the report mentioned something that really caught my eye. They talk about the need for an interaction and task planning mechanism so humans and machines can communicate effectively.
Hold on, now I'm really curious. What does that even mean? Are we talking about like a universal language for humans and robots?
Not quite that sci-fi, but the idea is that as we work more and more with AI, we need to figure out new ways to tell these intelligent machines what we want to achieve, what our goals are, even how we think.
So it's not just about programming AI to do stuff. It's about teaching it to understand what we're trying to do and how our minds work. That's pretty wild.
It is, and it opens up some really interesting questions. Like, what will this interaction thing look like? Will it be like talking or visuals or
Mhm.
something totally new? And how do we make sure it all works smoothly so humans and AI can truly be partners?
My brain is exploding with questions right now.
Yeah.
This really changes everything in terms of how we think about collaboration and innovation. I can't wait to hear what our listeners think about all this. Maybe we can brainstorm some ideas together in the next part.
Welcome back. Before we jump into your questions, I think it would be cool to dive into a few more examples of how companies are using this taskmaster model, like out there in the real world.
I was just thinking that. The Boeing example with the AI headsets for wiring was super cool. Really showed how AI can make those hands-on tasks way more efficient and even safer.
Totally. And speaking of real world stuff, the report talks about how John Deere is using AI in agriculture. They're using machine learning to analyze crops and apply pesticides super precisely.
Wait, AI-powered tractors? That sounds straight out of a sci-fi movie.
It's happening right now. Their system can actually figure out if a single plant needs pesticides. So they're not just spraying everything with chemicals.
So it's like each plant gets its own custom treatment. That's wild. I get how that saves farmers money on pesticides, but what about the environmental impact?
That's another huge plus. By using pesticides only where they're needed, John Deere is cutting down on the total amount of chemicals used, which is great for the environment and for the crops themselves.
This is a perfect example of how AI can help us build a more sustainable future. It's not just about profits. It's about solving real problems.
Exactly. And it's not just about those practical tasks either. The report also talks about how AI is being used to boost those creative and strategic roles that we think of as being totally human.
Okay, now you've got my attention. Give me an example.
One that I thought was super interesting was how Stitch Fix, that online personal styling service, is using AI to recommend clothing styles to their clients. But here's the catch. Human stylists are still a big part of the process.
So it's not like an AI fashion police telling you what to wear.
No way. The AI looks at tons of data, like customer preferences, body type, budget trends, and comes up with personalized style recommendations. But then a human stylist steps in to review those suggestions, tweak them based on their expertise, and add that personal touch that AI just can't do.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the AI is the brainstorming buddy pulling together all the info, and then the human stylist comes in to curate the final look and make sure it really reflects the client's style.
Exactly. It's a perfect example of how AI can actually boost creativity. It frees up the human stylist to focus on the stuff that needs that human touch, building relationships with clients, getting what they want, and creating that personalized experience that's more than just picking clothes.
This is making me way more optimistic about how AI will impact creative jobs. It's not about replacing human creativity. It's about making it even better.
Exactly. And as we see more and more companies using AI, it's going to be super important for people to adapt and roll with these changes.
That brings up a question that I bet a lot of our listeners are thinking about. If companies are starting to rely more on AI, does that mean there will be fewer jobs for humans in the future?
It's a totally valid concern, but the report actually paints a more positive picture. Remember, it's not about replacement, it's about augmentation.
So instead of AI taking over entire jobs, we should be thinking about how AI will change those jobs, taking over certain tasks and freeing up humans to do other things.
Exactly. Now, some jobs might become fully automated, but a lot of others will be reshaped with AI handling the repetitive data stuff and humans focusing on tasks that need creativity, critical thinking, and those uniquely human skills we've been talking about.
So it's not necessarily about job losses,
Yeah.
but more like a shift in the types of skills that will be in demand.
Right. And that brings us back to how important HR will be in this whole transition. They need to help workers adapt to this new landscape by figuring out what skills are missing and creating training programs that give employees the skills they need to succeed in this AI-powered future.
So it sounds like lifelong learning is going to be more important than ever. We can't just rely on what we learned in school or early in our careers. We need to be constantly learning and adapting.
For sure. And it's not just about technical skills, those soft skills like communication, collaboration, problem solving, and critical thinking, those are going to be even more valuable in a world where AI is doing a lot of the technical stuff.
Okay, so for our listeners who might be feeling a little overwhelmed by all this talk about AI and the future of work, what's the one big takeaway they should get from this deep dive?
The most important thing is don't freak out about AI. Think of it as a tool that can help you do your best work, be more creative, more efficient, and have a bigger impact. The future belongs to those who can adapt, embrace change, and are excited to learn and grow along with these awesome new technologies.
I love that. Embrace the change, stay curious, and never stop learning. That's a great motto for navigating this AI-powered future.
And remember that interaction and task planning mechanism we talked about earlier. Well, the report doesn't have all the answers about how that will work, but it throws down a really interesting challenge.
It's a good challenge, I hope.
Absolutely. It's a challenge to think outside the box about how we can design systems and interfaces that let humans and AI communicate seamlessly, understand each other's goals, and work together like a real team.
So it's not just about building AI, it's about building the ways we interact with AI and make it part of our work lives.
Exactly. And this is where things get really exciting. This is where we have the chance to shape the future of work, to design systems that are not only efficient, but also human systems that empower workers and create a work experience that's more fulfilling and meaningful.
This is blowing my mind. It's not just about automating tasks, it's about reimagining what work can be and how we can use AI to create a better future for everyone.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And I think this leads us perfectly to the next part of our deep dive, where we can start exploring those bigger questions about how AI will impact society and what it means for the future of work.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the AI-augmented future. We've been talking about how AI is changing the game in the workplace, like from boosting efficiency to helping style clothes. It's pretty wild to see how much of an impact it's already having.
It is. And as we go forward, we need to remember that this future isn't something that just happens to us. We're actually the ones creating it.
Right. We have the power to decide how we use AI and make sure it benefits everyone, not just companies.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to think about the future of work, not just in terms of tech, but also, human values. Like, what kind of work environments do we want? How can we use AI to make our work lives more meaningful? These are big questions, but we need to start thinking about them now.
So what can we do as individuals to prepare for this future and make sure it fits with what we believe in?
Well, the report really pushes the idea of continuous learning and being adaptable. We can't just sit back and think the skills we have now will be enough forever. We need to keep learning, check out new fields, and develop those uniquely human skills that will always be valuable, no matter how smart AI gets.
So basically, we need to become lifelong learners, always curious and open to new stuff.
Exactly. And it's not just about new skills, it's also about being comfortable with change and being able to adapt quickly. The world of work is going to keep evolving faster and faster, so being okay with change is going to be super important.
Makes sense. So embrace the change, stay curious, and never stop learning. That's a good plan for succeeding in this AI-powered future.
I think so. And as we develop and use AI more and more, it's important to remember that technology is just a tool. It's up to us how we use it, what values we build into it, and what kind of future we make with it.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I feel like I get
Yeah.
it now. Not just the tech stuff, but also how this is going to affect us as humans.
I'm glad to hear that. The main thing to remember is that the future of work isn't set in stone. We're all building it together. By being informed, being proactive, and being aware of both the good stuff and the challenges, we can create a future of work that's innovative and human.
Well said. And on that note, we want to thank you, our listeners, for joining us on this deep dive into the AI-augmented future. We hope you feel ready to take on the changes ahead and help create a future of work that's both fulfilling and meaningful. Remember, the future isn't something that happens to us. It's something we create.